as a man, he is allowed to take bro trips or male trips with his friends every other month. She can't, but he can. How do you know, and I say this, I don't really think that's a double standard because that's just his household. Not everybody runs their household like him. However, I'm thinking more of the sexual contact that he thinks takes place at these girls' trips. Just because men do it doesn't mean women do it. Like, I don't know many girls' trips that I've been on. Not that I go on many, but my girlfriends talk about the girls' trips, and it's not about having sex. It's about just enjoying another country or someplace else. It's not about that. So what do you guys feel about? How do you guys feel about that?
I think the first thing we have to break down in that video clip for the people that have seen it, that know what we're talking about, is I agree with him with just a small portion of that. You should not be taking girls trips every other month. No, that's what we're not doing when we're in a relationship, when we're in a marriage. We're not taking girls trips every other month. Now, should she be able to have a girls trip once a year or once every couple of months? I feel like when you're single, or maybe when you're in a relationship, that's still somewhat acceptable to a certain extent. What you and your partner discuss. However, when you're in a marriage, I'm okay with not having girls trips. I think girls trips now needs to turn into, we can bring our spouses now. Especially if you're in a friend group, like the majority of our friend group, everybody is pretty much married or is in a relationship, has been in a long-term relationship. So we always put it out there for their spouses to be able to come along, because let's just be honest, people are married. They have to answer to each other and what they have going on in their household. So every other month, absolutely not. But I definitely think there's a double standard. Like, there should be trust. Where's the trust in the relationship? The trust for your significant other to be able to go out of town on a girls trip, and you know that she is going to behave herself accordingly. When I was in my last relationship, my my ex was like, I don't think we should be doing guys or girls trips. He was like, I think it brings about trouble, especially in new relationships when you just start dating. So I don't think we should be doing that. And I'm like, okay. I was like, I done been on enough girls trips to last me a lifetime. Like, it's about the bigger picture. I'm trying to build something with somebody, trying to get married and all of that. So I'm like, okay, we were in agreement. But the minute one of his friends mentioned something about a guy's trip, it was like, oh, it was go time. And I'm like, no, 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 no. That's not what we said in the beginning, honey. We said that in new relationships, we shouldn't be doing girls and guys trips. So don't try to flip it now that you want to go on a guy's trip with your homeboy. So now that door is now open for me to be able to go too. I trust you. When I'm on girls trips, when I'm in relationships, I call my man often. Hey, baby, I'm FaceTiming. This is what's going on. This is what we're doing. Okay, I'm going to check in with you later when I get back to the hotel room so you can make sure I'm good. I made it back in safe. I don't have those types of problems. I think the men that have a problem with it, it might stem from some sort of maybe an insecurity. Maybe it was some type of experience that they had where they were in a previous relationship and their girlfriend or wife was doing something she didn't have any business doing while on a girls trip. So I think it's all about keeping that line of communication open and doing what works best in your relationship.
I agree with Tim in the fact that in terms of something that may have happened to them, and what I mean by that, I don't think it's really mostly the girl doing something. I think it's they know what they were doing when they were on their guys trip and trying to put that, saying, I know what goes on, because they know what they were doing and think that their girl or their wife is going to be doing the same thing. But for me personally, I don't have an issue with girl trip or guy trip. And in fact, I encourage my husband to go on guys trip. Like I want him to go on a guys trip. And that's just because I do think it is important for men and women both to have their space and have their fun outside of each other. And it boils down to like what Tam was saying. It's about the trust. My thing is, I don't understand if you can trust your significant other, going to the mall or going to work or going to wherever. If you have trust, it shouldn't matter where the trust is given. So if I'm, if I've shown myself to be trustworthy, that trustworthiness shouldn't stop. If it shouldn't be limited to international borders. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, because if you cheating, you can cheat at the
That's my point.
for a run. You don't got to go out of the country to cheat. So.
Exactly. That's my point. Me and my husband both do go away. Like just this summer already, I had my girls' trip already. And then him and I took a trip together. So we do believe in, making that space for each other and traveling. But I also do believe in him having his time getting away and hanging with the boys. I trust him. So, go ahead, have your fun. And it's the same thing with me. It's just a matter of have your fun, but be respectful. Remember, you're married. Like that's the rule. Just remember that you're in a relationship. Just because you leave somewhere don't mean a relationship goes away too. But yeah, that wouldn't bother me at all whatsoever. And I'm cool with it. There's no double standard on this end.
Anybody else wanted to?
So to talk about that video, it definitely, the way he even mentioned the conversation, even talked about it, was just like, it's a bit aggressive, but hey, if she's happy, she's happy. I agree that men should be able to take guys' trips. Take a guy's trip. It's just a level of respect. The things that you do on that trip, could you do it in front of me? I think is really how I view it. If it's not something you do in front of me, then it's out of pocket. I go on girls' trips. The things that he said in that video, as though we go on girls' trips just to have orgies or just to have sex or just to meet a guy. What did he mention? Like Tinder, because your friend had a Tinder jump off.
Yeah,
or something
he
like
said
that.
her friend meets a dude on Tinder.
Yeah, it was a bit extreme. Not on my girls' trips. I don't think I've ever been on a girls' trip where my friends are swiping right, and most of my friends are married. So when we go on girls' trips, it's a time for them to get away, and we really just enjoy each other and each other's company. And we don't do anything, of course, it's gonna be out of pocket that would be disrespectful to their husbands or anybody they're in a relationship with. And equally so, if they're my best friend, her husband goes out on trips too. There's a trip coming up called Uber Soca, which is, a Caribbean cruise on steroids. There's a level of trust that's there between her and her husband that he can go on this trip with her cousins and their family, and the guys go on this trip and they have a good time at Uber Soca. So I think it's a level of trust between you, and as Mistaken and Tam said, you could cheat going to the gym. I mean, how many people are cheating and picking people up at the gym? If you're going to cheat, you're going to cheat.